Hello, everyone. Welcome to all you beautiful people out there trying to make the world a better place. Welcome to the Dead Man Walking podcast. I am your host, Repeatedly Dead Fred, author of the soon to be released memoir, The Summer I Died 20 Times, which is what happened to me. And that's why I'm Repeatedly Dead Fred. Today, I'm with Andrew Rosmanowski, who is a nutrition and fitness expert. And we're going to talk something that's in the news a lot these days is hormones and a lot about testosterone and trends in testosterone and things like that. So Adam, thanks for being on the show. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to kind of walk this topic as well as just have a great conversation.
Sure. I mean, it seems everywhere you go, people are talking about, not just testosterone, but all sorts of hormones and everything that's affecting us and why it's, so important to get everything balanced because most of us are out of balance right now. So I don't know where you want to start this, but I'll let you start it and we'll see where it goes.
That sounds great. Yeah. And I'll say, I've been in the industry for about 17 years now. And what I often speak to right out of the gate is trends, kind of what we're seeing, kind of how things are going. And throughout the we'll call it spectrum of fitness and health, definitely in the 80s and 90s, we had this boom of move, like strength training is a big component, utilize that. We got into the late 90s and early 2000s, and nutrition became this spin of like, hey,
sure.
My favorite adage was, abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. The idea of like, we need to eat better to perform and to live. And not since probably about, I'd say late 2010s, 2015, and then on, hormones have become a big factor. This has been a kind of a trickle down of lab testing became an important thing of let's diagnose where you're at and understand whether it's, blood panels or salivary panels, digestion panels, all these things kind of came out. And one thing for men that has always been kind of this ringing bell is testosterone as this, I don't want to call it kind of this fountain of youth hormone, but this idea of that's what often creates, an increase of muscle mass, an increase of strength, stamina, all these great attributes of performance are baked into testosterone or have some linking to testosterone. So obviously the market kind of responded and said, okay, we need to increase testosterone levels, which are absolutely appropriate and are great for men. Once you see these increase of testosterone levels, you'll often get right out of the gate an increase of energy and this kind of this quick response to training. You're not feeling as exhausted and you recover faster. So all these great things happen. So testosterone became this light at the end of the tunnel. And as we were speaking to prior, TRT or testosterone replacement therapy became this kind of boom. And I'm speaking to it now in the industry like it's Starbucks. You're almost kind of every other street corner, you're starting to see some type of clinic come up with blood work and all those aspects. My big cautionary talking point to this then becomes this idea of it's one hormone in the catalyst of the symphony of hormones that are going on in your body. Right. And if we think about hormones, the easiest way I break them down is hormones are just signal callers. So if we're a football team and you've got the head coach, the defensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator, they're just calling signals to the rest of the team to actually execute. So your hormones are just these play callers, and you don't just have one coach. You've got an array of coaches in your body giving out signals and giving out calls for the rest of your body, whether it's to digest, to recover, to sleep, all these things that hormones have an impact on. So testosterone is like this big timpani drum in the symphony, and we want to just push more testosterone in our bodies, maybe synthetically or with TRT clinics, or the idea of just raise my testosterone. Well, it's a good thing, but this timpani drum just drowning out everybody else in this symphony doesn't create a great orchestra. So that's kind of my big cautionary tale. Understand testosterone, which is great, and there's some great things in that hormone, but they do have to work within symphony of the rest of the body and the rest of the hormones that are going into play.
For sure. And for those of you who don't know what TRT is, it's simply testosterone replacement therapy, which is administered through your doctors not through your gym.
Amen. Amen. And I think that's, again, when that 80s, 90s boom, it became that dirty type feel of like, oh, this is, these are needles in a gym, anabolic steroids. And absolutely that was present. And now that science is catching up and really regulating and understanding the research behind it and how testosterone plays a factor, that's where you're starting to see that now being provided from a healthcare practitioner or a clinic or a doctor. And that's the route to go, obviously, is one, see where your levels are at if you're going down this route of understanding that. And then either there's two routes I would speak to of going down. You're either going down this, I'm going to increase my testosterone synthetically through a practitioner providing me specific dosage and how to take it, and then reestablishing where my norms are afterwards and continuing that. Or there's kind of more my approach of going after like, let's get this symphony working together. Let's get this orchestra all communicating the right way with lifestyle, nutrition, and maybe strength conditioning habits. And that will increase testosterone for the long haul. And that's the goal of not kind of like a fad diet. I don't want to go on a diet for New Year's and hopefully I lose all this weight, but I'm probably going to gain it right back. And it's kind of a similar scenario of if I just put testosterone in your body and you keep the same lifestyle, after a while, that's going to start falling off too. So it's the idea of building a lifestyle that'll help it kind of for the long haul, if you will.
Yeah, your body is so smart and it tries to achieve this homeostasis. Yes. And if the extra testosterone knocks, there's this domino effect and it knocks everything else out, it's not going to benefit you. When talking with my endocrinologist, he said, blood work and blood counts are interesting things because they have a standardized range, and we're not standardized people anymore. And, your testosterone might be at a level that's great for you, but it would show as low for somebody else. But it might be low for you, and it really is low. So you'll see people who try the therapy and get dramatic results. They'll drop a really big amount of weight fairly quickly. And for others, it's not going to be so effective immediately. And it's that, we're an N equals 1 kind of thing, even with this. So.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. And I try to laugh more, maybe ironically than anything, of the idea of these levels that are the norms, if you will, in the medical field. They're norms to the standard American diet, the standard American individual, which is probably not the norm we want to be within a range, because the range is so wide and so vast. And like you spoke to, the optimal level for every individual is a fingerprint. So knowing where your optimal levels, which is probably much more narrow range than the norm, and then what that optimal level feels like. So does that optimal level like, oh man, I'm highly energetic, or you might go too much and it's like, hey, I'm jittery, I've got a higher anxiety and things are kind of a little bit chaotic in my head. That's when we can find like honing in that level that you're supposed to be at. But like you spoke to, it's such a fingerprint that if I give, 6, 7, 8 guys that are same height, weight, and maybe background, the same dosage of testosterone, they're all going to respond to it differently. It's like that signal, that play caller. Maybe the play caller for one coach, if I'm going to go the analogy route, is using hand signals, and one's using verbal signals, and one's using big charts that they hold up. Yeah. Well, that signal is going to get to the rest of the body in different ways. So then it depends on how well your body can absorb and utilize that testosterone and kind of navigate that entire pathway appropriately. So it's absolutely tricky is an easy way to put it, for us to kind of get into this TRT, this testosterone replacement therapy, and get the right dosage early on, which is, again, this is something that's very early on, and it's an infancy in getting to the public and getting to the general population. So it's absolutely something that, when working with a doctor and practitioner, of managing and understanding where your levels are at and tracking those over time is going to be absolutely beneficial.
One of the things that I've seen come up in parallel with the TRT therapy is all sorts of supplements. And I have lots of views on supplements. And I think Dr. Gabe Merkin has showed a lot of studies and concluded that most of these supplements just make you have really expensive urine.
It's definitely, the one big asterisk you need to put by any supplement is obviously non-FDA regulated. So right out of the gate, you're playing this game of, if I'm getting a supplement, I need to make sure it's high quality and what they say is in it, which is already the wild, wild west a little bit without FDA regulation. So to start with any supplement, I would make sure and maintain you're getting some third-party testing saying what's in it is in it. From there, like you said, often there's an array of supplements. I mean, you can probably Google supplements right now and the list goes on and on. Now, there are absolutely ones that have had a lot more research and I guess studies behind, the easy one, the cherry picking one is creatine is one of the most heavily studied and researched supplements out there. And it's an amazing supplement with great, great effects. Same time we talked about with TRT, any supplement, everybody's body absorbs it differently. So maybe your body might not be even absorbing that. And like what you spoke to with that very expensive urine, we're looking at when you do pee, it's that neon yellow and you're like, oh, there goes all the nutrients of my supplement right down the toilet, if you will. So it's definitely one I spoke to. And one thing I work with my clients with is lab testing. And lab testing, really what it's going to provide is, if you walk into the mall and you got that kiosk of where am I trying to go, lab testing provides you the "you are here" mark. So it provides you a good understanding of, okay, where do I stand today with all these levels? Then, much like a chemistry experiment, if I pull one lever, maybe it's your strength training, maybe it's, nutrition, habits, lifestyle. And then after X amount of time, I check again. Let's walk to the next kiosk. Did we get closer to the place you're going, or did we get further away? And it allows us a lot more, less time wasted in the sense of I'm getting to where I need to go quickly, making sure the supplement we're taking or the program we're using is worthwhile. So that's absolutely one with supplements, is making sure, one, knowing if you're actually taking something that's quality. Two, making sure you're getting the results that you're trying to get out of supplements. And if I were to say, like, hey, gold standard of supplements I would look into and have at my beck and call, creatine is definitely one. Helps increase of energy and prolonged less, I guess, resistance to fatigue for your muscles. Some great aspect to start with. Protein is, if getting protein in is a difficult thing for you, and this is only a snack thing, it shouldn't be a meal replacing, because I want more whole foods if possible. Be protein. And then lastly is some anti-inflammatory, like a fish oil. I'm a Midwest boy, grew up on a farm. Fish and I don't get along as well as I'd like. I'm more of the animal meats. So I need to get some of those omega-3s, and some good fatty fish is from fish oil. So
Rhonda Patrick had somebody on recently, and I forget his name. And it's embarrassing because he's from McMaster, which is just down the road from me. But he said there's wildly disparaging wide range of protein values that people should be eating per kilogram of body weight or pound of body weight, depending on. And, again, even if you're on the carnivore diet or, eating crickets, it's also like such a hard game to play to start balancing yourself out.
Yeah. So with that, like you spoke to, and there are the ranges they'll speak in the training world or the fitness world for instructors and trainers and coaches, starts anywhere from 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight, all the way up to, we'd call it maybe like high performance athletes who are training X amount of hours a day, is in that range of 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight. So roughly a gram per pound of body weight. And for those out there listening in or watching, think of your fist size is roughly about 25 grams of protein, maybe 30 on the thicker fisted people. Now think of, if your body weight is 180, like that's now 180 grams of protein you're looking at for the high end. So make of that with the fists, and you're thinking, well, I'm eating a couple burgers every meal, kind of a feel to it. And in that, like we spoke to, that range, that's also saying, am I digesting all this protein? Am I actually absorbing all these nutrients? And, if so, excellent. But But more so what with me and protein, I often speak to the two big players of protein. One, there's so much, especially with animal products, so much nutrient density to it that's readily available. It's something that they speak to like bioavailability. Our bodies have been eating animal byproducts or animal product for protein for so long. Our guts are very well digested, where we're in tune to digest that food. So in that, it one is nourishing us with a lot of micronutrients, as well as two, it keeps satiation levels high. So for a community of Americans that we are really good at overeating and overindulging in calories, thinking of, I always jokingly say, if I had 100 grams or 100 calories of potato chips in front of you and 100 calories of steak, I bet you're gonna be able to knock out those potato chips and still be hungry. That carbs break down quicker, they enter the bloodstream, which bumps blood sugar, which makes you kind of have that hunger even more. And then protein sits in the stomach, and it'll have to be broken down over a long period of time, this churn and burn of our gut trying to break down this protein, because it's muscle that keeps us satiated for longer, which is a great way to, if you think of calorie restriction, is kind of limit the calories we intake, because I'm not as hungry as often. So the two big proponents of protein is kind of what they do for us, the nutrients they have, as well as the satiation they create for us throughout the day.
You hit an interesting point, because I come from the intermittent fasting world. So I'm a big proponent of intermittent fasting. And, what's slowly being acknowledged is the calories in, calories out model is deeply, deeply flawed. So, you're not absorbing everything you eat.
Yep.
And that's why you don't gain 4 pounds in a meal, stuff like that, especially if you hit the buffet, when people tend to overeat. And it's the same with, you could eat those, handfuls or fist sizes of protein, but that doesn't mean you're actually going to get the, 20, 25, 30 grams of the protein that you may or may not need.
Yep, absolutely. And even that with that, the variables that creates, as well as knowing that FDA regulations, there can be a fluctuation of 10% of irregularity or kind of variables of the content of calories in it. So they can be 10% off. So if you're one, it like tracks calories to the T. Well, even if you tracked everything precisely, that number can still be flawed. So it like you said, the calories in, calories out is a component. Is it the end all be all? Absolutely not. In the sense of, then I often speak to the quality of food we're intaking. So if I said, okay, you're going to have a 2,000 calorie diet, and I said, okay, I want you to go, let's just give it carnivore diet. And then I said, one person, you're going to eat only Oreos, but you're only doing 2,000 calories. I guarantee there's going to be some changes in each individual based on the quality of nutrients they're getting, and quality of whether it's processed foods or whether it's highly inflammatory or high sensitive foods we might be intaking. So the intermittent fasting has been one that's, I'd say, has been really kind of brewing the last at least 10 years. And I always think of the digestion system like a factory. Well, if you make this factory work all the time at all times, and I think grazing became a big norm in the early 2000s of like, oh, you should eat 6 small meals and keep eating. Well, it probably worked for some because they weren't overeating in one meal. But for the vast majority, you were keeping your digestion system working the entire time, didn't allow it to rest. And without rest, that's when inflammation sneaks its head in and stress gets high. So really, we were kind of stressing our digestive system, not allowing it to break. That's where intermittent fasting definitely came into play, of having these long periods of time of cleaning out all the things that are in our gut, and then being able to utilize those macro and micronutrients. And then from there, have the next meal, whatever it might be.
Yeah, we have become a nation of leaky gut syndrome and body-wide inflammation for most people. And I know I had it, and I didn't even know it existed. So intermittent fasting really got rid of that for me. And I can't go a podcast without mentioning my fasting mentor, Jen Stevens, Fast Feast Repeat, New York Times bestseller. Go check it out. But yeah, just so many amazing things happened to me after intermittent fasting. And it changes your gut biome. and that'll affect your hormones and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
have a please go ahead.
No, I was going to say with that too of what originates in the gut, like you spoke to, a big hormone impactor of gut health. It starts from there. The gut is actually where our immune system obviously lives in it and is utilized. So poor gut means poor immune system, and I don't have to walk through the last 5 years to show what kind of that created with a lot of Americans. But in that, like the hormonal impact, the higher increase of stress, and in how stress then, if we come full circle, balances with testosterone. Those are I hate to speak to them like a teeter-totter, but they often play like that when stress levels are high. Your body says, well, I don't care to make sex hormones because really I need to make sure I stay alive. I always jokingly say your body was created to do two things, was stay alive and procreate. And it can't procreate when it's dead. So guess what? Cortisol or stress is the trump card no matter what. Your sex hormones will stop. Your cortisol will be going on overboard because it needs to help repair your body. So it's again, if your gut is stressed, your immune system is vulnerable, your body's going to say, well, I need to repair the system more than I need to procreate. So I don't care about testosterone and estrogen and all the like. I need to cortisol.
For sure. Do you have like a generalization of when you start working with a client, how soon? Because everybody wants everything immediately, right? How soon, if they're really, really zoning in and doing the weight training and, not necessarily having the cleanest diet in the world, because even with IF, I don't have the cleanest diet, but it does work wonders for me. How long should people expect within a range to see some positive results?
Oh, great question. This is the where the old trainer in me would give you the "it depends" answer, because obviously the variables that are there. And I find when I start working with individuals and especially men, we're very gung ho on the controllables. We're very, give me the strength program. I can put effort in there, and I like to do that. It's something I enjoy. But the things that have the greatest impact that I will implement and I'll use with my clients is often the basics. And this is kind of obviously a silly adage of like, well, obviously it's always go back to the basics. But the two big impactful ones are sleep and stress, put those two together, as well as nutrition. If those two things there's so much, I guess, more low bearing fruit, bigger return on investment, those two aspects. And then from there, the movement aspect becomes, people enjoy it. It's going to be an easy one to get and go with. But with sleep, if we're getting adequate sleep and we're getting understanding of nutrition, we're starting to take out some of the things that are probably really impacting on a detrimental side, and not taking it away, but replacing it early with most likely something like protein or hydration, things of those sort. Usually when individuals start with me on the first 2 weeks, they'll start, what I call it, the first 2 weeks is I start feeling better. My energy levels start picking up. I'm feeling a little more awake when I hit the alarm clock, so I don't hit it 6 times. I'm going to sleep and I'm getting more restful sleep. Joints are feeling a little bit more smooth, things of that sort. After those 2 weeks, 2 weeks after that is where other people start noticing. Like, hey, you're doing something different, or you look a little different. Your clothes are fitting a little different. You're probably feeling that a little bit. And then within the first 6 to 8 weeks, we'll see body compositional changes, whether that's through measurements, through body compositional or body fat percentage measurements, skin fold, circumference, etc. We'll often see those results happening within the first 6 to 8 weeks. And for all of us, again, like you spoke to, our goal is to see it quick. We want to see this response of like, am I going the right direction now? Because I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste effort. And in that, the biggest things I usually will have individuals start with is some type of simplistic journal. And it's simple things of when you woke up, how much energy did you have on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being great amount of energy, 1 being very little. How was your sleep? Did you wake up at night? Did you not? And then from there, how is your stress? Are you pulling your hair out while you're waking up in the morning like, man, my stress is so high? Or are you relaxed and enjoying pina coladas on the beach? So and as you see those, we see trending the way we like in the first 2 weeks. And if I'm not, that's when we kind of pull another lever or understand what's going on and how to impact those as we go with coaching.
Yeah. I think with regards to sleep, people have this misconception that you're supposed to sleep 8 hours through the night. And, that's just unrealistic. It just doesn't happen. And again, there's a range of what's good sleep for everybody. We all have our circadian rhythms and our, I don't know, was there some like 38 sub-circadian type rhythms or something like that?
Yep.
So just try and do the best you can to improve your sleep, whether it's staying off the computers for an hour before, or you mentioned before we came on blue blockers, which are great for you.
Yeah, and really with that, it's the easiest way I break down and provide some insight to what people are doing for their sleep is often I'll ask any of my clients, okay, what's your morning routine? And 6 out of 7 days of the week, it's always the same thing of, I wake up, I check my phone for emails, I hit the alarm, I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth. It's all systematic. Then I ask, okay, what's your nighttime routine? What happens the half hour before bed? They're like, different every day. Sometimes I'm watching TV. Sometimes I'm on the computer. I'm playing on my phone or whatever it might be. It's often different, which you spoke to beautifully, circadian rhythms. It's kind of telling your body like, hey, this is when I need to start winding down. This is when I need to start getting ready for sleep. I'm producing melatonin to help aid sleep and staying in a deep sleep and so on and so forth. We're kind of stopping or shunting that signal with this disarray of a system. So if you can, I always say, like, start with 5 minutes before your head hits the pillow. Okay, the last 5 minutes, I'm going to put my phone away and read 3 pages of a book. Okay, do that a couple of days of the week. Our goal is to, make it 10 minutes and slowly start getting your body ready to say, hey, an hour before I go to bed, I'm starting the sleep routine of getting my body ready to get into as much quality and quantity that's needed of sleep possible. And that's when we usually see a lot of great results of stress decreasing, our body recovering better, and then performance on the other side, whether it's, for aesthetics or for movement or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And your brain loves reading. It really does. It's just like a natural antidepressant, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So we're close to running short on time. So if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way for them? And actually, where are you located?
So I'm in Michigan. I'm in a right north of Detroit, in a little suburb of Detroit, Michigan. So I always say Detroit. I'm like, but I don't live in Detroit.
Yeah.
I'm a West boy through and through, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and now I've landed in Michigan. So I'm up there. And as you were asking, the best place to probably find and get a lot of my content is going to be Instagram. For the most part, is going to be at adam.roz.coaching.
Okay. Awesome. So people can hit you up, and obviously you're open for remote or virtual training and things of that nature. So
Absolutely.
Adam, this has been fantastic. I've learned a lot. Would you be interested in playing the Dead Man Walking quiz before we go?
I would love to jump into this.
Okay. Can you give me a number between 1 and 36? And why it's 36, I have no idea, but
18 is going to be my magic number. That was a number I used in sports all the darn time. So it seems to be the one that's locked into my head.
Okay. So this is more a social media kind of question. Do you aspire to be so successful that you weren't having a frenemy?
Yes.
Like a Paris Hilton kind of level?
I like that. I'd say this of success. I'd like to be able to have a big enough impact that I'll probably say things that rub people the wrong way because I'm speaking my truth. I'm speaking genuinely, vulnerably, and to the exact. And like we spoke to with a lot of things, there are going to be people on the end of the spectrum of carnivore diet. There's going to be, vegans and all this. I'd rather say, this is what I know, this is what the research has shown me, and this is what I've done to prove and have success with my clients. So yeah, I'd say I'd love to get a span enough that I'm probably going to upset some people.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up. So Adam Rosmanowski.
That's it.
My God, what a tongue twister for me. To the audience, I just had surgery last week, so I'm a little off on some things. So thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it. This is Repeatedly Dead Fred signing off for the Dead Man Walking podcast. Please like, subscribe, give Adam a call, do all sorts of things, share the podcast, and have yourselves a great week. We'll catch you next episode.
Thank you.